Let me show you the three differences between the marketing brief and creative brief with examples from Porsche, Seamless and Hinge. It's obvious that the two are separate, but there is key information that interlinks the two throughout the strategy process to the creative brief. It's important for strategists to be able to dissect, interrogate and question and ultimately take out key information from the marketing brief, which you'll also hear referred to as the client brief, to use that information in the creative brief. What makes the strategist role challenging is being able to wear two hats while always having the customer's perspective at the center. One side relates to the marketing brief with the client's business problem and objectives that need to be solved. The other side is the creative brief that focuses on the customer's problem using the client's product and service and USP to solve this problem. Before we review both, let's do a top-line review of a typical agency process to understand the timings and the role of each brief. The marketing brief starts the agency process. The marketing brief contains the brand requirements, which then start the strategy process. The strategy process involves interrogating the brief, research, insights, and opportunities. The strategy phase then moves to the creative brief and briefing stage. This is the strategic output for the creative team. Based on all the information gathered and opportunities identified, this creative brief is customer focused and aids the creative team to develop the big campaign idea. The campaign idea turns into another form of a creative brief, a comms plan. The comms plan explodes the creative idea into various channels. This is briefed back into the creatives for executional versions of the campaign idea. The comms plan and creative executions moves into production, and after production, the campaign is then live. Once the campaign is over, the campaign report is produced with the learnings and analysis to inform the campaign's effectiveness. Let's review the marketing brief with an example. The marketing brief looks inwards from the business perspective. It looks at all the core brand elements and needs so that the business can achieve its business goals. The marketing brief often looks to address multiple stakeholders' requirements in the business. This often leads to multiple requirements that make the brief quite challenging. Multiple requirements such as different target audiences, business objectives and problems, and multiple messages and so on. In this example for Porsche, we can see the brand has all the typical fields required for a brief: the business background, the business and marketing objective, the business problem, the target audience, key messaging and comms requirements, creative and channel mandatories, KPIs such as sales, perception, reach and awareness, market share, market penetration, trial, and so on, and then timings and budget. Note that the marketing brief is usually supported with other brand information such as brand and market research, brand guidelines, or brand bibles. As mentioned earlier, it's the strategist's job to dissect, interrogate and question and ultimately take out key information from the marketing brief and supporting documents to use during this strategy process. I've got a free guide that provides a framework to help structure your conversations when taking briefs from clients. I'll have a link to that in the comments. Once the strategy process is complete and the strategist has identified the opportunity for the brand, this is then placed into the creative brief. Let's review the creative brief. A creative brief can come in many shapes and sizes. It is just a way for a strategist to articulate their thought in a format that the creative team can action into a creative solution. The purpose of a creative brief is to take the business problem and turn it into a consumer problem. You'll often find an agency has a set template. This is because it is developed with the creative team, a template that they are familiar with, one that aids them to get to the creative solution quicker and easier. I often suggest speaking with the creative team to see how they like to be briefed, how included they would like to be in the process, and what are the key parts for them in order to deliver the creative solution. What does a creative brief look like? I like to use two types of briefing templates depending on the creative team's requirements. Another famous formula for the creative brief is the get who to buy brief formula. It's a very clear and simple brief. It almost speaks from the consumer's mouth. This is what the template looks like. Get, the target consumer, who, the consumer problem, to, the desired response, buy, the one message or action. Here is an example using Hinge, the dating app designed to be deleted. Get singles who see dating apps as a singles merry-go-round to download the Hinge app with the hope of finding a partner by showing that Hinge was made to be deleted. The insight here is success for apps is when they become part of your daily routine, but for dating apps, success is when people stop using them. If you're interested to see how I break down the Hinge app designed to be deleted example using the get who do buy formula, I have a full video on my channel on that. Here's the 3 things you need to remember when it comes to the difference between a marketing brief and a creative brief. The marketing brief looks at the problem from the business perspective. The creative brief looks at the problem from the consumer's perspective. The creative brief looks to address the business problem in the marketing brief by answering the consumer problem. And the strategist starts with a marketing brief and ends with a creative brief. Thanks to Strategy Finishing School member Matt Osborne for helping to create this great video.